Hey guys, Britt here. Welcome to End Times Bible Prophecy. Make sure to hit the subscribe, like, and share buttons. Today we're going to talk about a couple of stories. One of them's a couple of weeks old, but I'm just now getting to it. And these stories, I believe, they're illustrative of the times in which we live right now. And I believe they show us where we're headed as a society, as a civilization, the whole globe. And where that is a very dark place. So let's take a look at the first of these articles. This is from Reason. It says, why a facial recognition device barred this woman from a Rockettes show. It says, last month, Kelly Conlon arrived with her daughter's Girl Scout troop to watch a Rockettes performance at Radio City Music Hall, but she abruptly was denied entry. Why? Conlon works for a law firm the venue's parent company had blacklisted. While the policy is unusual, Conlon was found out for an even more surprising reason: the venue's use of facial recognition technology. Conlon's experience, while bizarre, gives a glimpse into a future with abundant facial recognition devices, one where our personal information can be accessed and used against us at a moment's notice. Just how Conlon ended up being turned away by security guards starts with a corporate grudge. According to NBC New York, Conlon is an attorney working for the New Jersey-based law firm Davis, Saperstein, and Solomon, which is currently involved in personal injury litigation against a restaurant owned by MSG Entertainment, the parent company, which also owns Radio City Music Hall. A twist to this litigation is that the company decided that all attorneys working for law firms engaged in litigation against them are banned from attending events at our venues until that litigation has been resolved. As Conlon described, she was identified almost immediately by a facial recognition device. It was pretty simultaneous, I think, to me, going through the metal detector, that I heard over an intercom or loudspeaker, Conlon told NBC New York. I heard them say, woman with long dark hair and gray scarf. After being stopped by security, they demanded her name and ID and told her that facial recognition had picked her up. They knew my name before I told them. They knew the firm I was associated with before I told them. And they told me I was not allowed to be there, Conlon told NBC New York. Despite insisting that she doesn't work on cases against MSG or even practice in New York, Conlon was still denied entry and forced to wait outside during the show. I was just a mom taking my daughter to see a Christmas show, Conlon told NBC New York. It was embarrassing, it was mortifying. Conlon's law firm is challenging the policy, claiming it violates MSG's liquor license, which requires them to admit members of the public unless there are people who would be disruptive, who constitute a security threat. However, the most troubling part of the story isn't why Conlon was turned away, but how. Facial recognition devices are becoming increasingly common in public spaces and private businesses. However, these devices, while often touted as a reasonable security measure, have dangerous implications for privacy rights. After all, Conlon could only be stopped because MSG Entertainment had access to a database with pictures of her and personal information tying her to her job. Adding to these privacy concerns, there is good reason to believe that facial recognition data collected by private businesses won't stay in corporate hands for long. Corporate face surveillance is dangerous because government agencies could one day demand access to all the data amassed by companies in order to institute essentially a turnkey authoritarian surveillance regime, wrote Reason's Ron Bailey. So guys, here we have, the makings of, this is essentially the Chinese social credit system with a private business. Now, whether or not you agree or disagree with the policy that the business has to deny entry to those who work for the law firm, here we have facial recognition being used widespread on everyone entering this public venue. And personal information is in a database about this woman. She didn't consent to have her information put into that database. They've just uploaded it from wherever they got it. I guess her company website had a picture of her. I have no idea how they had all that information, but they gather this information, and companies have reams and reams of information on their clients. And I think this shows us just where we're heading. We're heading. This is again, along with central bank digital currency, this is setting the stage. It's laying the foundation for the whole mark of the beast system, and this ability to be able to, in this case, cut you off from services because of whatever reason they deem necessary. In this case, it was litigation by the firm she worked for. But guys, this gets worse. We're going to move on to the second story here. This one says, facial recognition fail lands wrong man behind bars for 6 days despite glaring discrepancies. It says, authorities got the wrong man thanks to flawed facial recognition technology that identified him as a fugitive, landing him in jail for 6 days in DeKalb County, Georgia, despite having never been in Louisiana, where the crimes took place, and being 40 pounds lighter than the actual suspect. Randall Reed's attorney, Tommy Calagero, made a statement on the mistaken November 25th arrest after the 28-year-old was identified as a purse thief who was wanted for thefts in Jefferson Parish and Baton Rouge. He said his client was falsely linked to the June theft of luxury purses from a consignment shop. Over $10,000 worth of luxury Chanel and Louis Vuitton purses were stolen over a 3-day period. They told me I had a warrant out of Jefferson Parish. I said, what is Jefferson Parish? Reed stated. I've never been to Louisiana a day in my life. Then they told me it was for theft. So not only have I not been to Louisiana, I also don't steal. Reed was released on December 1st after authorities realized the facial recognition digital tool had made a mistake. That won't stop a lawsuit, which is no doubt in the works after the goof. And guys, there should be a lawsuit here. This is outrageous. 6 days of this man's life were taken away because of using this dystopian technology where they're spying on everything. You know, whether you agree with security cameras in certain places, whatever, that should be part of the process. It shouldn't be the sole process. But it shows the lengths to which all of society is being surveilled right now. It's not just China, but it's everywhere. All over the globe, every corner you walk around has cameras on it. Now people have cameras on their doorbells, and there's cameras everywhere. People are putting cameras in their houses, cameras, and voluntarily putting cameras and listening devices in their homes. And just last week there was an article about Google had given over $100,000 to a man who had identified a security flaw with the Google Home device, which is similar to the Amazon Echo, where you talk to Siri, you can talk to it and ask it to do certain things. For 6 years, that flaw was there that enabled outside people, hackers, to be able to hack into that system, listen to anything that was going on in the room where that device was, gain access to the private household network and passwords of the people who live there. So to believe, if one hacker could do that, that governments around the world aren't able to do that is absurd. Obviously, governments are able to do this, but people are voluntarily putting these listening devices in their homes and voluntarily tolerating the mass surveillance of society and using these facial recognition technologies. So guys, where's all this going? Well, I believe it's going to a very dark place. Revelation 13:7 tells us that the Antichrist will have control over every people, nation, tribe, and language on the face of the earth. How is that possible? For centuries, people imagined, how is this possible? You think of the might of the Roman Empire. Think of the size of the British Empire. The sun never sets on the British Empire, but these empires were not able to control anywhere close to the entire world, and they had very great difficulties doing that, administering these territories that they had conquered and controlled. And so how can someone control every people, nation, tribe, and language? Well, through technology like this that allows you to round up dissidents at a moment's notice. You've probably seen some of the videos out of China where they'll have a reporter and they'll just have maybe an old photo, and they'll give the reporter 20, 30 minutes to go walk in a busy city of millions of people. They alert the authorities using that photo, and they pick you up in just a few minutes' time. They can find you because there are cameras everywhere, and they're attached to these systems. And these systems, these cameras, these databases, the artificial intelligence that can weed through them is getting exponentially more proficient and powerful with every passing day. So this is only going to get worse. Again, we think of Revelation 13 verses 16 through 18 about the mark of the beast and this ability to track and control every buy-sell transaction on the face of the earth. No one can buy or sell without it. How is that possible? And we're seeing that technology come about in our day and age. We're seeing that foundation being set for the mark of the beast system. But part of that is these types of technologies. Think about maybe some stores you've gone to recently where they had the self-serve checkouts. I know at Walmart, if you use the self-serve checkout, what's looking back at you is your own face because they have a camera there, and I'm sure their reason is, well, theft. But you can't tell me that they're not linking that image to some sort of facial recognition database with maybe their own undesirables or blacklisted clients, similar to what we saw with Radio City Music Hall, and then linking that to credit card information, any other identifiable information that they can get from that kiosk. Are they scanning our irises too? Who knows how deep all of this goes, but we're seeing this at more and more stores where you see that looking back at you. And then how does that link into the ability to buy or sell when maybe even your face is connected to that, and they can say, no, you're not allowed to be a customer here because you're on this list of non-customers. You're not allowed to do that. How far does all this go? We see this technology. It's proliferating quickly. Guys, all of this is a sign that we live in the season of the Lord's return. Remember, Jesus said, when you see all these things take place, that was the key sentence he uses in Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21. He says, when you see all these things take place, look up. I'm coming soon. I'm right at the door. What are all those things he talked about? Well, we know that these types of technologies, it appears, are very instrumental in the end times. Ours is the very first generation that could see non-supernatural fulfillment of the things we just discussed in Revelation 13. Along with, for instance, watching the whole world looking upon the bodies of the two witnesses from Revelation 11. How is that possible for previous generations outside of the supernatural? Today, we can very much see how that's possible with people able to look at mobile devices and watch events play out in real time, watch those videos. And so, what are some of the other things Jesus talked about? We talked about, and the prophets talk about, well, we know Israel had to be back in the land. We see that. Jesus said the Jewish people will be back in control of Jerusalem. We see that. The gospel will be preached to the ends of the earth. We're seeing that. We can argue whether that's 100% accomplished or 98% accomplished. But again, think of how amazing that is, that a carpenter with a handful of fishermen as followers from the farthest edges of the mighty Roman Empire in this forgotten about province said, my message, the good news of what I did, will be spread to the ends of the earth. And today we're seeing that happen. So guys, all of these things are coming together. Talk of global government, the rise of a united Europe. We're seeing all of these things taking place. And Jesus said, when you see those things, look up, your salvation draws near. So I want you to move forward with hope and encouragement in the days ahead, because even though some of the news appears bad, and it is bad, the world will get worse before it gets really good when Jesus comes back at the very end of the tribulation. But before that happens, Jesus is coming back for his church. And so we can have hope knowing, no matter what, in the end, Jesus is victorious and we will be with him. So guys, I hope that gives you hope and comfort as we move through these dark times with news articles like this about how every aspect of your life is being watched. I mean, what do you think of that? Do you think that this should be normal? Oh, this is okay. We should be able to blacklist people from public accommodation, just because, for whatever reason, that the company doesn't like, or by extension, the government doesn't like. So this is where we're headed. I think it's a dark place. What do you think? Leave your comments below. Make sure to like and share this, and God willing, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. If you want to learn more about the end times and Bible prophecy, make sure to sign up for my free monthly newsletter and get your copy of my free ebook, 7 Signs of the End Times. Just follow the link in the description to get your free book. Also, make sure to check out all of my books. Just look up Britt on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple iBooks, Google Books, Kobo, or anywhere books are sold. Thanks for watching today, and until next time, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith.